Welcome back, everybody. This is Mog on Mogscast playing some more Kerbal Space Program with you guys today, playing on our United Kerbal Industries save file, that is. And as you can see, we've got another one of our interplanetary rockets, this time with a little different payload up top, and I'll show you that a bit more when we get up to launch altitude and everything and into a proper orbit. For now, let's go ahead and get launched. So incoming launch noise, it shouldn't be too loud. I tested this beforehand, but you're warned. Okay, so we're on the way. Going out once more because we were just at Eve in the last video. This time we're gonna be hitting out toward Eve, but we're gonna be going to Gilly, the tiny little asteroidal moon of Gilly's, right in its sphere of influence on an elliptic orbit. So it's a little crazy to get to sometimes. I gotta remember to go up on my nav ball and not to the right, because this time our thing's been tilted. But yes, gotta watch my speed. So yeah, we're going out to Gilly. We're gonna be dropping off a small, what I'm calling a passive station. It doesn't have any crew. It's gonna be manned by a probe body, but it does have a hitchhiker container in it and a little bit of fuel. So dropping off our first drop tanks there, and watching our speed about 145-ish. I'm gonna kick that up to full throttle so we can get going. You might hear possibly a beep from my Steam messaging. I've got a friend who's messaging me right now, but I'm gonna put that on hold for just a minute while I'm doing this, at least for the moment. But sorry about that, buddy. I'm sure you know who you are. But yeah, kind of a cool thing I've got going on here. We're not launching any Kerbals out toward Eve because it's a tiny little moon. And oh, we're going over 200 meters per second, so I'm gonna kick back our throttle just a bit and kind of keep it right around there. We're at about 7.5 kilometers up and climbing rapidly. So gonna keep our throttle right around 200 if I can do that. In fact, we can probably crank it up a bit higher. I think our terminal velocity is much higher at this point. So there we are, just about to pass our tilt point. So I'm gonna go ahead and start tilting this thing over, but we're almost out of fuel on our second set of drop tanks, so I'm gonna stabilize for a moment and kick those out there too. Now let's crank that up to full throttle and get moving in our gravity turn, shall we? So, cranking down, we're upside down on our nav ball, but that's totally fine. We are cranking away, we're at the 50-degree mark, heading to the east. And we are getting up there. Already up to about 340 miles or meters per second. So about a quarter of a kilometer an hour, or a second. Not an hour, that would be rather slow. But here we go. So yeah, we're gonna be launching up there. Gonna keep pushing on, exploring new planetary bodies and all that nonsense. We don't have too many. Well, we got a few more to go. We're not even halfway, I don't think. But the plan here for this season is to get something out at least on every planet, and then kind of explore from there. So we are starting to rotate, which is fine for the time being. But this craft isn't the most stable, so trying to correct this roll is a bit tricky sometimes. But I'm gonna try to keep it sideways here on the ball, because this seems to be alright with the engines totally up and down. So right there, can we hold it at this position? I think we're going to be able to. We're pushing up, we're at about 34 kilometers above the surface in altitude, and definitely passing the 1,000, or a kilometer in a second. So getting up there, nice and quick. 40 kilometers, let's go ahead, and oh, we're about to lose those tanks, so let's stabilize if we can. Kick those off. There we go. And let's continue our roll over. We're at about 100 kilometers up already for our ApoApp, so I'm going to go ahead and check our ascent so far and set up our node for burning. So let's get that in position so that we're ready to actually circularize our orbit. It's going to take a bit of fuel, but we have it to spare. So recorrect that if we can. Stop it. Right there we'll go. That should be about good, I think. 97 by 103, that's fine. Oh boy. Let's head back to that node, shall we? To the node! To the node! Now, I'm using SmartCS. This is the first time I've actually had RCS on one of these bigger ones in a little while. I don't tend to use RCS too often because you can manage without, as long as you're kind of paying attention. We need about 45 seconds worth of burn on either side of that node, so we're getting there. Got about T-minus minute 30 here, so about half this time left, and we'll be at our node point. So let's slow that on down here, and we'll get ready to do our circularization burn here very shortly. right there. In fact, let's go ahead and speed up a bit. And let's go ahead and start our burn like right now, shall we? At about T-minus 50, get it a little early. That's totally fine. Turn back off that. I know previously I hadn't been using the Smart ASS module from MechJeb to use the node directional holding too often, but it does definitely come in handy with these larger ships. So we're gonna go ahead. We need about 850 more delta V meters per second delta V before we get our circularization burn all complete, but that'll be fine. We're doing pretty well so far. And we got more than a half a tank of fuel left in this launch stage. We should even have a little bit left over to start our initial burn out toward Eve. All things considered, we should be good. Now, Gilly's a bit tricky. It's one of the, I think it's, if not one of, it might be the smallest orbital body in KSP. And it's on an elliptic orbit from Eve, which makes it kind of difficult to hit properly, or to make an encounter with easily. At least it's much, well, I won't say much. It's more difficult than hitting the moon. It's about as difficult to hit Minmus, but of course you need to get there first and all that nonsense. So it's got a very small gravity well, which makes it also fairly hard to get an encounter, and when you do, they're fairly quick encounters. So we're getting down there. We need about 50 more meters per second. I'm going to start slowing us down so we don't bypass that crazily. Booyah. Okay, we should be circularized. I'm going to go ahead and kill rotation, and I'm going to wait and get the node all set up for you guys. Okay, so we've got our node all set up, and it's on an encounter course with Eve, so we've got that all working, and we're going to go ahead and fast forward time until we get to that point where we need to burn. It's asking for about a minute with this engine, but that's only going to account for a little bit less than half of our overall burn that we're going to need. So because of that, we're going to make sure to burn a bit early, because we are going to be switching to our nukes, which take a relatively longer time. I'm going to burn it about a minute out, so we have double the time it's asking for, which might be a mistake. In fact, I might actually burn it at a minute and a half, just to be certain we got enough time. And we're getting pretty close here, so there we go, minute 40. Let's get back on that node and start burning, shall we? So there we go. Full throttle on this thing. We're going to let it run out of its fuel. And let's go ahead and switch back to a free camera, shall we? I'm going to kind of take you through this. So yeah, we've got this section here that detaches. It's got the large docking rings on either side of this piece after it detaches from its interplanetary stage. And then it's got a little lander right here on the front end. I initially was going to actually use as a satellite in a polar orbit around Gilly, but whatever. We've already got two satellites around Gilly on inclined orbits. I don't really need one on the poles. It's not a big deal. So we're going to go ahead and get burning out and finish up our burn. It's going to take another 3 minutes. Okay, so I'm glad we started a bit early. I probably could have started even earlier, but that's totally fine. Let's go ahead and pop out, and we're going to be taking a look here. Now, it's asking, or we're shooting for about just a bit shy of a million meters out, which is going to be 100,000 kilometers, I do believe. If my conversion is correct, I'm from America. I use the standard system. It's terrible, the empirical standard, as opposed to the metric system, which is terrible. I should really put some more time into learning that properly. And I know it's super simple, but make fun of me if you wish. So we got about 430 meters per second delta V we need to burn off here still. And that was my steam, by the way, a minute ago. Sorry about that. I should have mentioned that. I've got a buddy of mine who is pinging me on there. That's totally fine. So my steam, I'll let you know if it's my steam, so that you guys don't have to wonder and go, was that my steam beeping there? I don't know. Maybe I'll check, and totally not necessary. Fine. Now, this should have more than enough delta V to get us out there and around our proper encounter in this interplanetary stage alone. If not, this station stage actually does have a bit of fuel as well. As does the lander here. If I really needed to, I could turn these all on and use it while the station is still attached, but hopefully not going to be necessary. So let's go ahead and we're gonna physical time warp up, get this moving, so that you guys aren't sitting here too long as we rocket away from the planet Kerbal. Now I want to say thank you once more for, well, first time this video, thank you guys for coming in and checking it out. I really do appreciate the involvement. Any comments about what you guys would like to see would be most appreciated, as of course always is. Another thing is anybody who comments first on these videos is going to get a Kerbal in the game named after him. I need to go back and make sure that I've hit everybody that I promised that I would do that for, and get them out into our file here, our campaign, so that you guys feel a little more connected to me. Hopefully, give you guys a way to kind of interact. So we're slowing down our fuel here, our thrust here, so we can get this kind of right on the nose. Follow that node. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and zip. Kill that rotation, stop following that node, and we should have our encounter. If not, we'll be super close to our encounter. And it looks like, yeah, we'll need to do a little bit of trimming, probably correct the inclinations a bit. But we should be pretty well set. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward time so we separate from Kerbal here. And we'll go ahead and correct that once we're on a better path. So, yeah. Okay, guys. So we got our node set up for correcting this, make sure we get our encounter. So we're just going to fast forward. It just needs a little bit of delta V to make this correction and get the encounter again. Apparently my burn wasn't quite as perfect as I had hoped it would be, which is difficult to nail this far away from it. It definitely does take some finagling. We need about 14 seconds worth of full thrust on these nuclear engines, about 50, a little over 50 delta V in meters per second. So getting down here, and let's go ahead and we're just going to do it, I think. We're just going to take care of it at this point. Make sure that we hit this properly. And I'm going to zip over here and take a peek and watch this. So it's not going to be a perfect burn, but it should get us close enough. Perfect burn as far as perfectly matched to the node that I set up. Not the case, totally fine. But we'll be pretty close. So there we go. Let's get rid of that node, and we're going to go ahead and zoom on forward. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Flying through space, gonna meet up with Eve and Gilly. Now, Gilly, well, Eve is on a little bit inclined orbit in comparison to Kerbal, which makes it a little bit harder to hit sometimes, depending on the positions that the planets are in when you start your transfer. Not terrible, not terribly difficult to hit, because it isn't a huge inclination like, for example, Elu, where it's inclined and, what's the other word I'm looking for? Inclined and, you know, the other one. So thank you, Alarm Clock, for catching that for us. We are in the sphere of influence here. Now what we're going to do now is set up our burn for the capture. Now hopefully, if we get lucky, we might be able to get an encounter with Gilly as well during this point, though I have my doubts. So why don't we do that? I'm actually gonna do one nope. We're gonna go ahead and do an earlier burn and kind of twist ourselves so that hopefully we get into an equilateral orbit. Nope, that's wrong. So we want to speed up. We do want to speed up at this point. It actually ends up being kind of a slowdown overall for the capture, but we should be able to finagle this, I think. That's going to be pretty darn polar. That's no better. Well, we're going to go ahead and I'll get this going. Okay. So here we go. We are pretty much spot on for where we want to be. And we're going to go ahead and start this burn just a little early. Now, I basically just went ahead and did a normal capture right at the periapse. And we're just going to zip in. I'm going to correct our orbit once we kind of get in there and realign for Eve. Or for Gilly, and get this out there. Okay. So we've got our next node all set up. We are doing a correction burn to get into a proper orbit with this. Well, it's definitely not a proper orbit, but it's more aligned with Gilly, and it's more and it's following the right path. It's going around. What would this even be? I guess with the flow of the planet. I have no idea what that's called. At least I can't think of the word right now. So that's totally fine. My Steam again, my bad. But I will come back to you guys as soon as we get this all finished and are ready to get an encounter with Gilly. Okay, now we are back. I am on a better orbit here with Gilly. Now the trick is going to be getting in the encounter. Firstly, we're going to go ahead and set up a node right here on the descending node so that we can correct this a bit. And ooh, we shot by that real quick. So let's get all aligned. 0.1. Can we get that to 0? Right. Come on. 0. Okay, now, let's see. That's where it is. Let's get that encounter. It's right there. Booyah. At about 46 off the planet there. That's perfect. So let's keep that up if we can. And we're going to go ahead and shoot toward that node, which is going to be, I think, going to be along the... Well, no, it'll be along the north and probably about the... What is that going to be? 315 degrees, roughly? No, that's going to be up, it looks like. 315 to the north. Oop, don't want to do time warp. I want to do physical time warp and start heading toward that node. 315. Oh no, it's going to put it closer to the 270. Okay. All right, so we're just about on it. And it's asking for about 19.9 meters a second delta V. That's next to nothing. Now that's what I love about this interstellar stage. It's got so much fuel for carrying these payloads up. I can hit almost any planet with this rocket design, just because of the amount of delta V it has in its interplanetary stage. It's great. So if you're looking for a good interplanetary stage, take a look at the design I use and see what you can do to adapt to what you need. It's a really good launcher. So, okay, get down close to the node. I'm going to go for about, I don't know, 10 seconds. T-minus 10 seconds. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. Now let's start that burn. Let's see what we can get here. I'm slowing it up so that we get it more accurate. So I need to end around T plus 10. Doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, the closer the better, but, you know, whatever. And boom. We have our encounter, I think. So close to our encounter. Or is there an encounter there? There is. It's a tiny, tiny little encounter. 6 hours, 7 hours. Okay, so it's a bit of a gap there. We can definitely do that. So we're going to go ahead and fast forward and get up to Gilly. And there's Eve spinning with our little our probes, our satellites, and our glider down on the surface. Did we put any people in the station? I think we did. I think there's some folks in that station. So zipping on in here. And there it is. We're cutting in close, catching up on it. The real question is here, how are we going to orbit? Because at this point we can still correct things, but I think we're going to be on the right plane. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So let's zip on in a bit quicker. We should be getting our alarm clock any moment here. It's going to start killing our time warp. There it goes. And we're basically, I mean, it looks like we're getting real close to this planet. It's gonna pass right behind, or right ahead of us, and we're just gonna zip right around it. Is what we're gonna be doing. Oh, balls. Okay, fine. I screwed that one up. Let's go ahead and drop that. Because I think, oh, we need to reset Gilly as our target. Gilly, let us target you, damn it. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and exit, because I screwed up, and we're gonna get this all fixed up. Change that a bit. We should be, come on. Oh, right. Retarget. Boop, boop, boop. That should be about what we want, because we want to almost bring ourselves to like nothing as far as speed goes. And we need to do that ASAP. Let's turn on that RCS and get over there. there it is. Tiny little asteroid. It's a really rough surface, kind of difficult to land on. It's kind of like Minmus, except much smaller. And I think it has, yeah, it has less gravity than Minmus. Take a look. I still haven't used much of my RCS tanks, so that's totally fine. Let's bring ourselves to a stop, and we're gonna start burning immediately because we are still we're past the point where we wanted to be for getting this. Turn off those RCS tanks, and we're just gonna keep burning until we get a proper encounter. It should be rather quick, but it's gonna take a little bit to burn this Delta V off. So we're still gonna be in Eve's sphere of influence for a moment, but basically we're just gonna be dropping back toward Eve in hopes that we'll run back into Gilly's sphere of influence and get caught, and then we can correct our orbit there. I'm very thankful that this stage has enough Delta V to do this kind of thing, because I am not perfect when it comes to flying these things. But I can make do. I know I need to give myself extra fuel, those kind of things, to correct for these mistakes that I tend to make. So at about 230 more meters per second Delta V we need to burn off. Let's speed that up. And that's dropping quickly. And about 30 more. Start slowing this off a bit. A lot of it. Okay. That should be good. Now, if we're lucky, we should be able to get this encounter pretty quick here. What is that? Closest approach. Ooh, that's not good. Okay. I'm just gonna time warp, see what happens. Oh, it went away from us. That's rough. Speed up, speed up. We should be able to catch this. I think we'll be all right. I can make this happen. I can do this. There's a collision course. Ooh, 200. Ooh, that would be a close one. Okay. So when it disappears like that, I'm pretty sure we have an encounter. Oh. Tilt that back in. Do we need to realign ourselves? No, I think we're good there. Okay, damn it, Gilly. We will catch you if it's the last thing I do. This should be a warning for anybody ever planning on doing any space travel. Bring extra fuel. You don't want to get trapped going out in the middle of nowhere with no fuel. One and zip. Okay. We should be on a new encounter, or at least very close. Yeah, we have a new encounter right there. So let's get up there and actually not miss it this time, shall we? In fact, I kind of want to watch this. So there's Gilly. We're coming back into it. And there goes our alarm clock, letting us know. Let's delete those, clear our list, and okay, I am going to go ahead and set up our node. Actually, I'm going to wait a little bit until we actually are in the encounter. So zipping on forward just a hair, not going to overkill it this time. And boom. Okay. Now, the trick here is Gilly's got such a low gravity, you are literally going, like, almost nowhere. Get out of here. You're literally, like, going, like, I think you're going less than 10 meters a second with it, with an orbit around 100 kilometers up. But I don't want that. I want to go about 50, maybe less. I want to go 40, because that's where one of the time warps is. A little over 40, so I'm going to go at 50. Call that good. Let's spin around to our to our retrograde marker and where our blah 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 should be. Our node marker should be. Sorry, totally spacing. Trying to make sure I don't mess this up again while talking to you guys, so my bad. I tend to do that, which is always just great fun. Just great fun. So zipping on forward, it's right there on our retrograde. We should have no problem at all hitting that. And there it is. Get back into position. We need about 23 seconds of delta V to burn this off. And currently we're going to burn off, at least from where we are sitting right now. It's probably going to increase as we get closer to that periapse, but our orbital speed is faster than the amount we need to burn off. But that should probably correct as we get a little bit closer. So we need about 23 seconds, so we'll start at about T-minus 14. I should speed up, I think. Under a minute, getting there. T-minus 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14. And Gilly, you are ours, with barely enough fuel to finish this. Now, once we are going so low, it's actually really easy to change the way we're orbiting. So doing this currently is totally fine. Like, we're going to be orbiting backwards on its rotation, but whoa. Okay, turn back on that, our RCS that is, and let's make sure that we get this right. Oh, so it's going to actually correct us here. So we are going to be on the right plane. Okay. So there is that. So we are in an orbit with Gilly. Now the trick is going to be circularizing this, and then we'll go ahead and drop down our lander. Okay, so we're in a pretty good orbit. It's about 47.3 kilometers by 49.3 kilometers with an inclination of about 2.8, which is fine. But for now, let's go ahead and kick off that stage that we don't need no more. And I think I've actually still possibly got control of this since it has our mech jeb, which will be interesting, I think, because it doesn't have much electric charge left. Only what's in the probe body itself, or what's in the mech jeb itself, which is, just a bit. Now what I'd like to do is, look at that, orbital speed's 11.6 meters a second. We are hardly moving at all. What I want to do is get this thing out of the way and just wreck it. Now I should be able to shoot these off here just momentarily and actually get it clear. There we go. So why don't we go ahead and kill our rotation and head down to the surface. Wreck that thing. And zip back over to our station, where we are sitting pretty. So this guy is our station, this section here, with the giant docking rings on either side of it. Junior right here, Clampatron, and a normal Clampatron, and then our lander. So, in an effort to get this all good, let's go ahead and we're going to kick off going this direction. So hopefully, I think it should send out the probe, or the lander, toward the retrograde. So we are still controlling from here, that's totally fine. Turning on those. Whoa, I think I went way too fast. Yep, so we need to turn around and go retrograde again, because that was too much fuel apparently. Because we basically just shot way back out. So we're gonna shoot out, I think, going this direction, leaving our station on a good orbit, decent orbit. and letting us land. I'm gonna kick out our landing legs because this does happen pretty quick. And I'm gonna come back to you guys once we get a little bit closer. Okay guys, so we're coming in here for our landing with our little landing probe. And I'm kind of waiting to see when my shadow pops up. That's why I wanted to go for the light side so I could actually see where my shadow was. Is that it? Nope. Okay. But we are getting close. The altimeter up here is definitely not accurate at this point. But we should see our shadow sometime soon. There it is. Right over there. So we're going to push that retrograde marker. Oop, I should probably change that to surface. Okay, that'll give us a better reading. Instead of going at orbital speed, which doesn't take into account the rotation of the planet. There we go. We should be dropping pretty well square where we are at a good less than a meter a second. I might even be able to just kind of let this thing go and just have it kind of land where it is and see what happens. I don't think it'd break the legs at all. Okay, so coming in here nice and slow. But yeah, we might even be able to just, because the gravity is so low, it doesn't change your speed very fast at all. So I could probably just float down here to the surface. In fact, I think I might try that. Just kind of at least monitor it while we get there. Just a hair below, or a hair above a meter a second now, meter and a half a second. And yeah, I don't think I'm going to use anything. I'm just going to let this happen. Plunk. Perfect. Does a little bounce, get off there at SAS, and set yourself down. Look at that, it bounces off the surface and back to like a hovering position. That's kind of funny. But okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to deploy everything. My satellites and my solar arrays are all deployed. This thing also does have all the science instruments available to it that are along this edge. So we'll turn these on and we'll call this a good lander, a good how shall I say, a probe onto the planet. It's a surface probe with enough power to sustain itself and 3 large satellites on top. With that, let's go ahead and well, I should rename this thing. Make sure it's on a lander. Rename vessel to lander. Actually, we're gonna do a lander. Call it good from there. And alright, so that is all taken care of. Okay everybody, we are back. We're taking a look at the station now that we dropped off, the little passive station. So as you can see, it's got a mono tank, a little bit of fuel tank, it's got rockets on either end, a couple of solar panels to keep itself charged, some docking lights, and docking lights down below as well. It's also got this little control bit here for a Kerbal to climb into if I have one here that needs to control the station, that if it doesn't have electricity or whatever. But yeah, so station's all in position. It got pushed off when we ejected. It was actually on an escape trajectory. I had to use a little bit of fuel to actually correct it and pull it back in and get the orbit all fixed up. But yeah, everything's looking good here on Gilly. So the next video we're going to be going out somewhere else since we've hit both Eve and Gilly in this system. We need to move on to the next planet. So thanks for watching guys. We'll see you guys next time. Cheers!